The city was alive with noise that afternoon. Horns blaring, footsteps echoing, the faint hum of a world that never really paused for anyone. Yet for a girl named Marina, everything had already stopped. She sat quietly on the steps outside a glass tower downtown, her faded backpack clutched against her chest, her face pale with exhaustion. Her clothes were neat but worn, the kind of fabric that had been washed too many times to remember its original color. She wasn't begging. She wasn't crying. She was just still, like someone who had run out of reasons to move forward. Above her, inside the shimmering building, Adrian Vale, the CEO of Valitech Industries, stared down from his 20th floor office window. He was the kind of man people whispered about. The billionaire genius who built an empire from nothing. The man who never smiled, who never had time for anyone. His assistant had just told him he needed to be at a charity gala that evening. But Adrian couldn't shake off the image of the girl sitting on the steps outside. Something about her calm stillness in the chaos tugged at him, quietly but insistently. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and moments that change lives forever, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Because this story is one you won't forget. Hours later, when the world began to cool under the pale shade of evening, Adrian left the building. He wasn't sure why, but instead of heading to his car, he walked toward the steps. Marina was still there, her eyes blank but not hopeless, just tired in a way he didn't understand. He stopped in front of her, and for a long moment neither spoke. Then, out of nowhere, he reached into his jacket, took out his wallet, and pulled out 10 crisp 100 bills. He didn't plan it. He didn't even know why. He just said softly, "Here's 1,000, just hold my hand." She blinked, startled. I don't understand," she whispered. Adrian's voice was even. "You don't have to. Just sit with me. Pretend I'm not alone." So, under the soft glow of the setting sun, a billionaire and a girl with nothing sat side by side on the cold stone steps, his hand resting awkwardly but gently over hers. For a man who had everything, Adrian Vale had never felt so human, and for a girl who had lost everything, Marina felt for the first time in a long while that she wasn't invisible. The next morning, she returned. She didn't expect him to be there, but he was. This time there was no money offered. Just 2 cups of coffee. "I don't usually drink coffee," she murmured. "Then today you do," he said simply. That became their quiet ritual, every morning 7:30 sharp. A billionaire in a tailored suit and a girl with second-hand shoes sitting on those same steps, sipping coffee and talking about nothing that mattered, but everything that did. Marina told him she had once dreamed of becoming a nurse, but life had other plans. Her mother's illness, the hospital bills, the job that didn't pay enough, it all swallowed her future, one small piece at a time. Now, she cleaned motel rooms and sometimes slept on benches when the manager didn't let her stay after hours. But she never complained. She just spoke softly, as if her pain didn't deserve to take up space in the world. Adrian never shared much about himself, but something inside him cracked open with every word she spoke. For years he had buried himself in work after losing his wife in an accident. He had shut out friends, family, even his own emotions. People saw his power, his empire, but no one saw the grief he carried like a shadow. And somehow, in Marina's quiet presence, the noise inside him began to fade. Days turned into weeks. The morning coffee on the steps became their small sanctuary. Then one morning Marina didn't show up. He waited an hour, 2. By noon he was restless. By evening, he was pacing. It was ridiculous, he told himself. She was just a stranger. But the silence she left behind was louder than anything he'd felt in years. The next day, Adrian asked his driver to circle the city. He didn't even know what he was looking for. Just a familiar face in a crowd that never stopped moving. Finally, near the edge of downtown, he found her sitting outside a pharmacy, clutching a brown paper bag, her lips trembling. When she saw him, her eyes widened in disbelief. "You shouldn't have come here," she said quietly. "I didn't want you to see me like this." Inside the bag were cheap painkillers and cough medicine. She looked pale, weaker than before. Adrian sat beside her on the pavement. "You're sick," he said. She gave a small, broken laugh. "Not sick enough for a hospital, not well enough to work. Just stuck." That evening, he took her to his penthouse, not out of pity, but out of something deeper, something he couldn't name. She hesitated at the door, unsure if she belonged there. "You can leave any time," he said gently. "But maybe, for once, you don't have to fight the world alone." For the first time in years, the penthouse wasn't silent. Marina cooked simple meals. She watered the plants that had long since wilted. She even laughed sometimes, and the sound startled Adrian every time. It was light and real, something he hadn't heard in far too long. Over time, her presence began to change him. The man who once dismissed employees for being late now offered flexible hours. He started a foundation for underprivileged students in nursing programs, something inspired by her dream. When the board questioned him, he simply said, "Because no one should lose their future over circumstances they didn't choose." Marina, meanwhile, began to heal, not just physically but emotionally. She enrolled part-time in community college, using the scholarship Adrian quietly arranged under a different name. He never told her it was his doing. He wanted her to believe she had earned it, because she had. Then one bright afternoon, as sunlight filled the living room, Marina found the envelope on the table. Inside was the same 1,000 he'd given her the first day they met. A note was tucked beside it. "You never owed me anything. You gave me more than I gave you. But if you still want to hold my hand, don't do it for the money. Do it because you want to stay." Though she stood there trembling, the letter in her hand, tears forming quietly in her eyes. Adrian entered moments later, unaware she had found it. When he saw her, he froze. She walked toward him, holding the note against her chest. "I held your hand for 1,000 once," she whispered. "But now, I'd hold it for nothing, because you gave me back the life I thought I'd lost." That night, they sat together on the same steps where it had all begun. The noise of the city surrounded them again, but this time it felt different. The chaos was no longer cruel, it was alive. People walked past, unaware that the richest man in the city and the girl who once had nothing were sitting shoulder to shoulder, two souls quietly rewriting their destinies. Adrian looked at her and said softly, "Funny, isn't it? I thought I was saving you." Marina smiled through tears. "Maybe we saved each other." And for the first time in years he reached for her hand, not out of loneliness or guilt, but out of love. Real, raw, imperfect love that didn't care about titles or money or the walls the world built between people. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal, because sometimes the smallest act of compassion can change two lives forever.